Welcome everybody to the April 26, 2023 business meeting of the Richmond Community School Board of Trustees. If you would please stand with me as we say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And can we please have the reading of our mission and vision statement?
Richmond Community Schools guides students on pathways of learning to a future of limitless possibilities. And our vision statement, Richmond Community Schools, a collaborative community nurturing mind, body, and spirit to prepare students for lives of choice, purpose, and service.
Thank you, Member Zaleski and Member Stevens. Before we get going too much, I just wanted the minutes to note that there are only 5 members here, so it would be a 3-person vote to pass the issue. All right, having said that, the celebrations with Dr. Wright.
Vice President Ward and trustees, esteemed members of our cabinet, I am going to ask that Mrs. Bridget Hazelbaker, our Director of Marketing and Communications, join us to share who indeed we are going to be highlighting and honoring tonight during the board meeting. Mrs. Hazelbaker.
So we have 3 important visitors, groups of visitors coming in. So first I would like to celebrate Trey Wright and Ella Sweet. They received perfect scores on their 2nd grade I-Read exams. So you two come up here for a moment to talk to our board members.
You always step in front, right here in front of the podium. Yep, right there. And then, yeah, just if you want to scoot over, little lady there. Yep, perfect. All right. Welcome. Don't be alarmed. Please don't be nervous. I know there are a lot of adults having a lot of attention on you, but as our trustees would like to ask you questions, we know you have some good answers. Trustees.
Trey, Ella, what school do you guys go to?
Charles. I go to Preston.
Charles and Crestdale. Who are your teachers?
Miss Gifford. Mrs. Jones.
Nice, nice. I'm sure they're pretty proud of you guys, huh? Yeah? They making a big deal about it at school? No? No?
Mr. Walden, I think one of those teachers is actually in the audience. I saw one, so I think we should have
Oh,
her
do you have,
also come
yeah,
up.
do you have your
Do you
teachers
see one
here?
of your teachers here?
Yes.
Take a look. If you see your teacher, will you go get them and bring them up? Oh, they're both here. Wonderful.
Absolutely. There we go. Ella, is there anybody else you brought with you want to say hi to? Oh, yeah. And Trey, is there anybody here with you that you want to say hi to or acknowledge?
Poor mom. Well played, Dad.
Oh, yeah. There you go. All right.
And board members, this is a reminder, these are 2nd graders with perfect scores. So the I-Read exam is actually for 3rd grade students, but we take it in 2nd grade to see how students will do. So to have 2 perfect scores, we are extremely proud of these 2 students.
Now, will they have to take it again in 3rd grade?
They do not.
All right.
One and done.
So other questions for us?
So I have a question. My girlfriend is a 3rd grade teacher, and one thing that she dreads is getting prepared for these. Most students dread when it comes to getting ready for an iLearn or any type of test like this. You got perfect scores. My question to you is, do you fear that day when it comes time for you to go into testing, or what do you look forward to? I mean, you're obviously doing something right.
Well,
Were you nervous at all going into testing?
Miss Jones usually has us do jumping jacks before we take big tests. And she gives us like some kind of candy when we're done.
You weren't afraid, were you? You weren't afraid at all, were you?
Come on
Oh,
up,
man.
Brett. All the principals come up too. Crest over. We're doing everything right.
Well, congratulations once again, guys. It's a big accomplishment.
I'm curious to know, especially from our educators. As we know, it's been a trying past 3 to 4 years in education, without a doubt. And when it comes to instructional leadership, when it comes to quality tier 1 instruction, classroom teaching getting down and dirty, I know that both of you have successfully, and many of our educators throughout the corporation have successfully grown students, gotten them through this adversity. And you all just share as educators what it means to you to have 2 perfect score second graders here within your classroom.
I mean, I'm proud of her. I can only guide them so far. They have to do the rest. We can prepare them for it. And we can learn and work through anxieties and all the emotions that come with it. But at the end of the day, they're the ones that pass the test.
Mrs. Jones?
Ditto. We work on a lot of strategies, reading strategies, so that they can practice those strategies in class. And there's a lot of feedback, like the tier 1, and just a lot of practice and them learning, correcting their mistakes, and just a lot of skills and strategies so that they can just keep practicing those, especially with the reading and comprehension.
And we also know, especially at the primary level, the elementary age level, routine and consistency, rigor are huge. And so, Ella, share with me, Trey, share with me, do your teachers have high expectations of you? High expectations meaning they want you all to perform and exceed and do your very best on a daily basis? Do they expect that out of you?
Yes.
Do they hold you accountable? In other words, when maybe you're not doing something you're supposed to be doing academically, they may just give you a little nudge, metaphorically speaking, just to encourage you to get your work done and do your very best. Yeah. Do you all appreciate them for doing that?
Yes.
Ella, tell me, what's the one thing you really enjoy about being in class there at Crestdale?
Getting to see my friends and having fun with my teacher.
Having fun with your teacher. And Trey, what's the one thing you enjoy about being in Mrs. Jones' class and being there at Charles with Mr. Jones, who we know how he feels about Charles?
That question was tougher than anything on I.
So let me ask this, Trey. I understand that you have a competition, a little healthy academic competition in class, and we won't mention the student's name, but do you compete with one of your fellow students to be the smartest in class?
Yes.
Yes. Are you winning right now?
I think so.
Well, parents, families, teachers, principals, tremendous job. This again embodies what it is that we in Richmond Community Schools are all about. Continue to do what it is that you do and growing our students and students. Tremendous job for modeling what perfection looks like for the rest of your classmates. So,
I think, one more thing, I
Yeah.
think that there's a lot of support up here, but I think it goes back to their first grade teachers,
That's right.
their kindergarten teachers, the secretaries. There's a lot of success. There's a lot of people that support these successes that we have in these schools, and I think they all ought to be applauded too.
And I would like to say
Absolutely.
I agree with that because Ella has been in some type of an educational setting since she was 3 months old.
And so it started there.
It did.
It absolutely did. And
It
mom
did.
and dad
She was
buying
at
books
preschool
and
and
yeah.
we've been readers, we've read, every
Good for you.
night. and
Yeah.
So it makes a difference.
Now, same with Trey. We dropped him off when he was 6 months old.
Yeah.
Pre-K.
He got a late
Yep.
start. But good for you. I mean, and that's where it does start. It does start there. It's so taking nothing away from you guys that are teaching them now. Absolutely. But but there's a lot, and that's for all of our kids, so appreciate it.
Collective effort, that's right.
Yep, it sure is.
And especially to the parents.
Congratulations
Especially
again,
to the
guys.
parents.
Congratulations.
So we also are gonna celebrate two of our seniors, and I've already told them, I don't know anything about what they do. But we will practice a little bit. Henry Vincent and Ross Peacock, to join me up here for a moment. They have recently won the Indiana High School State Bass Fishing Tournament. So we're gonna talk about that, and they're gonna show off their trophy as well.
I think some of you all know a little bit about this. I'm not sure if you all.
No, we got two.
Okay, that's
I
good.
think he left his at home.
Is the fish the same size?
Where do you guys go from here? What's the next step?
Well, this was a qualifying event, so that means we qualified for nationals out in Wisconsin. It's on the Mississippi River. We're launching out of La Crosse, Wisconsin. So that's going to be, they qualify for every 10 anglers that compete, they qualify one team. So there were 60 teams that competed at this event, so they qualified 6 teams. We're the #1 seed coming out of Indiana, but that means that, you know, there's 5 other teams coming with us to Wisconsin. So in total this year, there's a predicted 400 to 500 teams at that event. So it's looking to be a really, really big event.
Are these your sponsors, your individual sponsors, to help you be able to afford to be able to participate? Yeah, wonderful.
Most of them are all local
Yeah, I'm
here in
noticing
Indiana
that.
and Richmond.
What type of lures did you use?
We use mainly soft plastics during the state event.
Okay.
Just fishing like 5 feet in front of us, just looking at the fish casting on.
And what are you doing after high school?
After high school, I committed to Adrian College. They have a bass fishing team. Right now, they're #3 in the country. And it's a full funded program, so they provide boats and trucks to trailer across the country. So events are held everywhere across the country. So like Lake Hartwell down in South Carolina, they hold events out in California on the California Delta. That's my plan, continue my 4-year education there and study business.
Wow. So you're going to school, fishing scholar. I mean, think about that. I mean, that's what do your peers think of you? I mean, I can only imagine. I spent some time in high school myself with one of our fellow board members, 2 of our fellow board members. But how do your peers respond to you when you say to them that, hey, we're professional bass fishers and we got sponsors? And
A lot of kids really in this area don't really understand it. Up northern Indiana, I have a lot of buddies up there, and they really, you know, we all kind of do the same thing. But it's funny because people will hear that I'm going to college to fish, and they'll ask if I'm going to fishing college, and it's always I have to break their hearts and let them know that I'm not going to fishing college.
Would you say the same?
Yeah. I'm going, after high school, I'm going to a school in Georgia for like a lineman apprenticeship to work on power lines and hopefully come back here and work either for RP&L or RMC.
There we go, bringing it back. I love it, coming home. Can you all share with, who did you all bring with you? Would you like to go and treat them hand in hand? Did you all just acknowledge if you all have your parents or guardians and loved ones with you?
Yeah, I brought my dad. He's supported me all the way. He's helped me, financially get to where I am now, but he's also coached me in, teaching and kind of understanding how to promote myself and collect a lot of these sponsors. And so I owe a lot to him.
So both my parents are here and they've helped out a lot. They've bussed us to tournaments. They've helped us financially. They've, just allowed us to do this. And that's the biggest thing, is allowing us to go spend 4 days, every weekend, or just be out and just me and him and have fun.
How long have you two been fishing together?
Freshman year is when we really started fishing together. We've tournament-wise freshman year, but we fished together since 4th grade, 5th grade.
Well, that old adage that you feed me a fish, you feed me for a day. However, you teach me to fish, you feed me for a lifetime. You all will never go hungry. However, I need you all to teach me. Because if I ever get stuck fishing for food, I'm in trouble. But congratulations. Any other questions?
I don't know if you'd answer this. Your next competition is when?
This weekend.
This weekend?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's kind of late to do that. In the future, as you progress on beyond there, if anybody's interested in helping assist, sponsor you, or helping you along, what do they need to do?
We run an Instagram page and a Facebook page. And so if you guys go out there, reach out to us or reach out to one of us, we'll help you guys on that track. Usually it's just a simple, we take donations, and then whether you want to stay anonymous or you want a brand, a logo, or a name. Well, right now, obviously, our jerseys are finished for the year, so we can't add to the jerseys. But if you have a logo you would like, we can put it on the boat, or as well as just a simple shout out on social media. Recently, we got sponsored by a mounting company. They mount grass to your boats, and they ended up sending us, a good amount of product, and we did them a shout out. And I got a lot of feedback, and a lot of people now are reaching out and kind of seeing what we're doing and really appreciating that as high school guys, we're able to put back into the community what guys are doing for us.
What's your favorite lake in Indiana?
I don't like fishing in Indiana. But no, Brookville, it's home. It's a hard lake to fish, but I love fishing it.
I'd probably say Patoka, the one we just won on.
Have you all ever fallen into the water while fishing?
I don't think so, no. It's been close a couple times, but we haven't actually fallen in.
Yeah, I see my cabinet looking at me. We have an inside story about water and Dr. Wright falling out of a boat. I was pushed. Nevertheless, congratulations. Continue to do what you do. You're representing Richmond Community Schools, you're representing your fellow classmates, your families. And again, kudos to parents, guardians, and loved ones. Again, just symbolic of what it is that it means to be a Red Devil. So,
I have one more thing. You're right behind me. During your tournament, that one-day tournament, was there any video of it?
Yeah, we have a couple videos and a lot of photos of the weigh-in and.
Okay.
have we already got it?
Okay. I would just suggest that, if possible, that we put it on our page so people can see it. Yes.
If you go to our Instagram, it's Rose City Fishing. Everything is on there from that event.
Cool.
Rose City Fishing. Well, thank you, gentlemen.
Congratulations, guys.
All right, and last but not least, we have Richmond Fire Department Fire Chief Tim Brown. He's going to come up here, and then we also have some of our students that are in the fire EMT class as well. They're more here in the audience, so I don't know if they want to talk. Oh, good, yeah, come on up, ladies. And so we'll just have a little chat with them.
Chief Brown, and again, those students, you all are here to accompany Chief Brown as you all are enrolled in our CTE program. But Chief Brown, on behalf of Richmond Community Schools, we extend our sincerest gratitude for the response that you all and our other first responders around the county, around the country, and around our state performed and put in to address the industrial fire from a few weeks ago. And so for that, the courage, the bravery that you all wake up with and walk around with was put on display for the entire country, literally, to see. And for that, we would just simply like to say thank you. Thank you for keeping us safe. Thank you for being considerate of those families in harm's way. But as is also the adage in the case, most people run away from fires. You all are in the profession, in the business, and in the commitment of running to it. So for that, we thank you, sir. Trustees, questions for Chief Brown? And also Chief Brown, if you want to just allude to you all's response, some of the steps you all took, some of the experience.
Well, we spent 7 days at the Northwest F Street fire, countless hours, 24/7. We had many of the volunteer departments filling in for us while we were there. we had to do a roster of all the fire, and we have 77 men and women on our roster, and 69 of us were all there at one point or another for several hours. So fire's still under investigation. It encompassed about 14 acres. But we managed to put out the strategy that we wanted to keep it on that complex. We put it out to all our men and women, and that's exactly what they did. They dug in, and everybody kept that fire right on the complex. We didn't lose any other homes on the other side of the railroad tracks to the north and the northwest. We had a few trailers at the Beechwood, had some melted spots on them, but again, they did not burn or perish in the flames. So very proud of the men and women of the fire department for doing what they did.
Questions, trustees, comments?
Introducing.
I just want to say it was amazing to see the response you guys had and how quickly you had a game plan for the situation. The other thing I want to say is, you know, I really appreciate the work you do with the Career Center and with our class, and for our career kids to be able to see firsthand on a national scale what you guys do. On Fox and CNN both, it was the #1 trending story at one point, and it was unbelievable that, you know, watching on TV and looking out the window, and like, this is unreal. And I don't know exactly what goes on in the class at the Career Center, but I'm assuming there's some study of fires and causes, and you got one that hits home right now, and there's no better learning experience than to have that right in your own community, although it's a negative thing, but being a student, and I mean, it's easy to see the relevance of things when it's right in your backyard. And so, again, I just appreciate the work you do with our school system and the partnership we've had.
Will you introduce the young ladies?
I'll let you do that.
My name's Haley Miller, and I am Baron Padilla.
And what?
Obviously, we're both in the fire and rescue. Our instructor is Greg Moore, and we are super blessed to be in that classroom to take the opportunity that Richmond, RCS does offer to the community. It has been a big life-changing and a lot of soft and hard skills that we've been learning throughout this whole year, and continue to expand those throughout the community as well.
And we're excited that our hiring age was at 21, and we found that our students that were coming out of the Career Academy were leaving us in those 3 years that we wasn't able to hire them. So we have now lowered our hiring age to 18. We're coming right out of high school. They'll be able to apply a job with the Richmond Fire Department.
So again, just to make sure that the millions and millions watching across the country are streamed, at 18, our students coming out of Richmond High School or around the county can enter Richmond Fire Department and make a career out of being a firefighter.
That's correct.
So we now actually have a pipeline into our fire fields.
And then first responders.
Yep.
Any other trustees? Questions?
How many, Chief Brown, how many do you have right now as members of RFD who have gone through?
We have 4 or 5 that have come through the programs that we've hired. We're getting ready to hire another member that came through the cadet program. That's awesome.
And for our students, I know that Mr. Hensley, Mr. Maddox, and as you mentioned, your instructors and the instructors in the entire CTE program dedicate and commit to pouring into you all, and I know that you all reciprocate that investment on a daily basis. So for you all to have the courage to want to pursue such fields, I think speaks volumes. And forgive me for acknowledging, but I know my daughter's in the crowd, and for her to also see that any and all things are possible, regardless of gender, especially in a world of first responders dominated by men. So kudos to you all as well. Well, thank you.
All right, next we have board reports and discussion. First up is the educational planning work. Kristen, John, Stacy. Sure.
Okay, we had a meeting, or maybe we just a minute.
Yeah, hold on just a second.
Hey, what that trophy, that fish is over.
Bigger than any fish you've ever caught.
I tell you what, without a doubt it is. Yes. And they use that with the
I've got,
sauce.
I've got some friends who I'm going to be sending this information to and bragging.
Okay.
Oh, bragging.
Okay. That's what it's all about.
Ms. Brennan?
Yes, we had a educational planning working group meeting this Monday. And several items on the agenda. The first was an update on the STEAM Academy. And it's exciting to report that every spot, and we had lots of kids who applied for the new STEAM Academy, and all of the spots are filled. Enough students applied that a second, fifth grade class is now being opened up. So we'll have 2 fifth grade classes, 1 6th, 1 7th, 1 8th. Mr. Hensley, I mean, his excitement for the program and what it's going to be is just exudes off of him. It's exciting to hear him talk. So he just gave an update on, where the students are coming from and how he's been very careful to be very thoughtful about everyone. So we have a waiting list, a few students on the waiting list at every grade level. So that's exciting news. They did add a staff member because of the added classroom, so we'll have an additional staff member there. Of course, the STEAM teachers are having training still, so I know that there's a training coming up that I'll share with the board in May. I think the date just got moved, but I'll share that where the board members can, pop in for the training just to see what's going on. He was really excited about everything that's happening there. So now the focus is, the staffing is in place, the number of classrooms in place. Now the focus is on, the curriculum and the technology. And of course, tonight we're going to talk about the design also, one of the approvals. Stacy, anything I need to add to that? Or you want to add something to that?
Nope, I think you got the steam good.
Okay, so that's kind of STEAM Academy.
Mrs. Brunton, one thing I might add is of the applications we received 19 from the Dissolving Hibbard Prep Academy, and all 19 were offered an invitation to join the Richmond STEAM Academy. There were 8 students that did not apply, but I think that is something to be proud of because we were worried about the transition of those students, so they were all accepted into the program that did apply.
And also with regard to the STEAM applicants, there were several external applicants from RCS. However, as we alluded to during our last board meeting, those external applicants actually lay their head down in Richmond on a daily basis. And so I know we've acknowledged the fact that we have a few students that choose otherwise with their schooling, but we are, as intended, bringing students back.
15 students, right, who are choosing to come back to Richmond schools.
That's big.
Applied for the STEAM Academy, so that is exciting. Next thing, Mrs. Mark Word shared with us about TBRI, which is Trust-Based Relational Intervention, which is curriculum around trauma in students and to help improve relationships with students. So we're in the process of beginning that training. So training will happen for some people in our district to help. I mean, the goal is to connect with students more. I mean, and with that connection and the relationships that are built, the hope is that, I mean, we know that academic gains will happen as well, but we want to make sure that we're reaching students who have trauma in our district. I'm gonna let you add anything, Stacy?
Just that they're including everybody in the district for that training, bus drivers, secretaries, everybody. That is important.
So that's RHS tested dentists. Yeah. Next, Alex Hazelbaker came and gave us an update on a technology survey, a staff technology survey that went out, which was a really great survey for us to see or the technology department to see what's being used, what technology teachers use in their classroom, what technology they're not using, what they like, what works, what doesn't work, to start to address some needs. And some of the highlights of that were that teachers in early learning classrooms really focus on using the iPads more than second grade through 8th grade teachers do. They use the Chromebooks. So every student has, and we have iPads that maybe aren't used in the older grades, but definitely they're used quite a bit for younger students. So trying to figure out in technology what we can do to adjust some of the needs and get what teachers need in their classrooms for their students. And then Bridget Hazelbaker gave us an update on the kindergarten roundup and preschool signups, which was exciting. Lots of excitement around the registration. Online registration is going to go live at the end of April, but we've had quite a few preschool families and kindergarten families. Oh, it went live today. Okay, today is the end of April. Good, so it went live today, so that's exciting. So you can sign up online now for preschool, kindergarten families. Is that, Bridget, is that for all families? Okay, so anyone who wants to sign their kid up for RCS schools starts today online. So any grade. So I'll be getting online to register my daughters. So, also, there is, talking about preschool, a lot of preschool families came to that roundup, and we have a waiting list for preschoolers in our district. So that's something we're going to need to talk about and address in the future. We have students, 3 and 4 year olds, and their parents who want to get them into a preschool, and we don't have space. We definitely know that, early education is important, and we need students to be able to be in our classroom. So we need to start talking about how we can adjust to accommodate the higher numbers of preschoolers. I think that's it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Any questions, guys? All right, next we have the Buildings and Grounds Working Group. I guess I'm the only one here. I don't believe we met, did we?
We're not, yeah, we're getting ready to.
Yeah. So nothing to report there. Finance Working Group, Pete, Kristen, and Aaron.
We did not meet.
Okay. Marketing Working Group. We did not meet. So, any other discussion? Board members, any other business to bring up?
And if I can just make reference to as far as April, as we know, is the month in which we celebrate the spring recess. And of course, with the industrial fire, it took roughly 2 weeks.
Yeah, everything was delayed and pushed back. So.
Yes, and so outside of that, there would have been meetings.
Good point. All right, next we have public commentary.
We have 3.
3?
First one is.
Okay, real quick, just some reminders. Maximum time to speak is 5 minutes. Please keep the comments fact-based and within the time permitted. Comments are not to be personally directed or abusive. Comments recognizing the work of staff and students are always welcome. However, critical remarks concerning specific school personnel or students are to be made through the complaint process available in policy 8130. School board members do not respond to public comments during this meeting, but you will receive a personal follow-up email from the board president.
Hello, my name's Trey Ronnie. I'm the outgoing secretary for the union, and I wanted to come and talk with you today about discussion rights and about, of course, we have our bargaining year coming up, and the importance of fixing our salary schedule. So I will certainly keep it below 5 minutes. I'll try to stay fact-based, but I have a lot of opinions on these things. I would say kudos to the programs that are starting to bring our kids back in. That's huge. in order for us to adequately serve all of them, as well as the students we currently have, I think bringing our teachers back in is at least as crucial. And for that, I don't know if there's anything more important than ensuring a strong teacher voice within our system and making sure that the salaries are fair. Working conditions, of course, are very important, but those two things are hands down some of the things that are going to start to draw teachers back in and keep the teachers, the high quality teachers that we currently have. Probably all of you are aware that in their expansive wisdom, our state legislature has decided to try to eliminate teacher discussion rights. Of course, as a union, we have, various duties, we have various prerogatives, but discussion rights are one of the most crucial. And so it's really disappointing to me that our legislature would try to eliminate this, and probably will succeed. On a personal note, I would implore everyone at this table, in the audience, hearing at home, to contact Governor Holcomb. I mean, this is really our last ditch effort to try to get the bill vetoed. It's Senate Bill 486. More than likely it's going to pass though, because we live in a one-party state. I could say more about that, but I'll try to step back. For me, and what I emphasize to my students every day is we are in a fight to preserve our democracy. And public schools are the keystone of a democracy. And I would take it one step further that a strong union is the keystone for a strong public school. Because at the discussion table, as we sit here, we have lots of hard conversations. And we get our feathers ruffled at each other, but I'm not apologizing for the hard conversations. I think that's helpful. Conflict is inevitable in our lives in the world, but through this table we can work through the conflicts. Our legislature is trying to take that away. We have heard from their own faces to our faces. They're trying to take that away because they don't believe in, they have an ideological opposition to unions.
Trey, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. Let's take the politics out of schools. This is not about politics. It's not about left and right. It's about how do we have conversation to make this the best school system. And at this table, we hash through issues in a way that as a union, we are trying to help the administration. So on that, the last thing I would say is, regardless of what happens with Senate Bill 486, I would implore everyone on back channels, person to person, let's maintain discussion, even if it's not our right as a union. Let's maintain it, strengthen it, but let's also push back on the legislature, and for that we need board help, we need administration help, we need more teachers to get involved. Because if we don't, I really fear for the continuation and the strength of public education. Thank you.
Hi guys. I'm just here because I want to thank Dr. Wright, Mrs. Sonsini, Mr. Baker, Mr. Hensley, and 2 of my students, Kayla Chastain and Amir Webster. I had an amazing opportunity to get away from the fire on the Friday after, I'm calling it the Great Dumpster Fire because they were using the, facility as a dumpster. But anyway, we had the opportunity to go with all of our administrators, and listen to speakers from the Indiana Department of Education discuss their launch initiative, which is about creating equitable pathways for all of our students. And it was an amazing day. They had a student roundtable in which the kids were asked very, very important questions. And I really think that this is something fabulous that we were asked to be a part of, and I'm looking forward to continuing some of the things that they said, which actually piggybacks on what Trey said, is that we must engage teachers and listen to teachers' voices, because we have to make experiences for our students that, according to our speaker from the IDOE, and I am so sorry, I forget his name, somebody help me.
Mr. Callahan.
Mr.
Jason
Callahan.
Callahan, yeah.
We want to make experiences for our students that are relevant to their lives, not just in our classrooms, but on the Monday after graduation. And that is the goal, because the career ladder is no longer a career ladder. They said it's more like a climbing wall. And we have to address all of the issues of equity and all of those barriers that stand in front of our students. And it was just a fabulous, fabulous day. And as with good mentors, and which teachers are great mentors for our students, they say, if I can see it, I can be it. And I think that we have an opportunity to be very positive mentors and to elevate what our kids can do across the board. So thank you again for allowing me to be part of that day.
Emma Katie.
What was the name, Kim?
Emma Katie.
I also go by Noen. What? No.
Noen?
Noen. N-O-E-N.
It is spelled neon, it's neon spelled backwards.
Yeah. I'm actually here to talk about something very relevant to what she just addressed, and it's the curriculum in our schools. I have actually contacted the senator's office, and I'm getting in contact with Senator Ratz soon, and I'm gonna go talk to him about the curriculum in our schools and how some of the required classes I just think shouldn't be required past freshman and sophomore year. If someone can prove to you that they are going into a field that they are dedicated to, like, I'm gonna use me as an example. I am very dedicated to music. I have a college pretty much picked out. I'm only a junior. I don't want to take pre-calc next year. I didn't want to take Algebra 2. I had already taken Algebra 1, but I took it in 8th grade, so I technically still have to take pre-calc next year, even if I pass Algebra 2. So that's kind of a bummer, because I can't fill my schedule with the stuff that I want to go into. Meaning I can't get more than one band class, which meant I gave up a clerical. So instead of helping better my education and better my time management with the clerical, I chose to go into something that will challenge me a little bit more so that I'm ready for college and I'm ready to go into the field that I'm going into. I just personally think that, this is opinion based, I'm sorry, that some of the stuff in our school shouldn't be taught, but like isn't necessary to be taught. There should be more opportunity to have more classes like life building classes. I feel like changing a tire should be mandatory to know. Your oil, your taxes, how to mortgage, like all of the stuff that you will need as an adult isn't taught in schools unless you sign up for a very specific class. And most of the time you don't get the details of the class or the description of the class when you're given the list of classes. you're given a list of classes, you don't know what they are, you just get the name. Like analytical algebra, I could have taken that. And that involves like taxes and stuff, and I don't know, I talked to Miss Wilkie, she talked to me about it. But I wasn't offered that because I didn't know what it was. I feel like there should be more informative methods to let kids know that there's more opportunities, and also that when a kid is very dedicated and knows, and like that's what their life wants to be, when classes are getting in the way of that and it's challenging the level of the grades to get into the colleges that I would love to go into, that have the classes that I want. St. Petersburg College in Florida. But it's just very hard to understand why I need to know pre-calc if I'm going into something that involves music and I can't fill my schedule with music. I am hoping to be cadet teaching next year in a music class, which is going to be awesome. But that's still taking up 3 periods, and then I still have my mandatory English class.
No, when you have 1 minute.
Okay. I understand speech is a big thing. But, yeah, I'm shaking right now.
Take your time. Take your time.
There are some life-building skills that could be involved in like a 1 year class, like a 2-semester class, that you could learn all of these life-building skills, you have those done, and then you don't need stuff like maybe econ and gov. You already have your taxes, you know how to do those, you know mortgage, you know tires, oil, all of the mandatory stuff that you will need to know, because I didn't know how to change my tire, my dad had to tell me. There are on-load classes, but you have to sign up for those specifically, and that takes away other elective spaces. So I feel like there should be more of a balance for life-building skills to mandatory stuff that isn't necessarily mandatory.
Thank you, Noel.
Thank you. Did it? All right, thank you for everyone who spoke tonight. Next on the agenda is highlights and happenings.
Vice President Warden, trustees, myself and our cabinet at this juncture will share many of the highlights and happenings that we have been a part of since our last scheduled board meeting. However, before I begin with my highlights and happenings, I will share, as was referenced with regard to some of the happenings, not so much highlights, but some of the happenings that have occurred. Senate Bill 486 is a challenging bill in more than one way for so many. And of course, as was referenced, it still sits on our governor's desk. And so once it is official, if the bill passes or if it doesn't, one thing's for sure, as we have vowed since sitting in this seat and sitting in this role, we will continue to communicate, engage, seek, and receive feedback and input from our classroom teachers. As I have felt as a classroom teacher myself, as a dean, assistant principal, central office leaders, leadership positions that I've held, it's imperative that we are hearing from those in the arena, those on the forefront and the cusp of instructional leadership. And so as we interpret and as the bill is interpreted, we are going to take note, and working with our teachers, we will find a way to continue to engage and seek, gain feedback, input, and more importantly, build upon the collaborative model that we've been working toward to that end. So with that being said, I will share that of the highlights and happenings from my superintendent's office, and along with several of you, we had an opportunity to take part in the NSBA National Conference this year. And during the conference, we were able to go down and not only network, but importantly, glean and gain a lot of trade secrets when it comes to board, being the best boardsmen and boardmen can be, as well as for me as a superintendent, an opportunity to take part in breakout sessions that was again, very educational. There were, like I said, trade secrets, tips, and things that I'm looking to incorporate and employ here within Richmond Community Schools that have been proven to be successful in other corporations and districts around the country. And so just on an annual basis, the conference is, again, one that allows us to glean a lot, but most importantly, I think you all will agree, it allows us also as a board of governance to grow stronger and build upon our bonds so that we can do the best in these settings. The industrial plant fire, the logistical response that came with that fire. People oftentimes see the iceberg, but they don't see what's underneath the surface. And there was a lot, as Chief Brown and our first responders, there was a lot of logistical challenges that they had to address. We at Central Office also had to work around the clock to keep up with the ever-changing challenges that came with that industrial plant fire. And I just want to commend our Central Office leaders, our building level leaders, our teacher leaders, our parents, guardians, community as a whole for responding as we did. I think it exercised, and I know you all have heard me say it time and again, I think the exercise of humility, self-service, and resilience was on display and in motion on a day-to-day basis as we all were responding to that industrial plant fire. Lastly, just to piggyback on what Nolan, as well as our faculty and staff and others that came to the podium, I have had an opportunity since the last time we met to continue to turn our corporation's dial, as it always has been, towards students. And so I've had a chance to take part in several classroom experiences, discussions, debates. I was at Hibbert Middle, where we were talking about the effects of very extinct wildlife and whether we should make them permanently extinct or value what they bring to the ecosystem. At Westview, we had a living wax museum where the students, elementary students, were decked out and dressed up as historical leaders and historical influencers, just to see them take ownership of the activity and the initiative was just remarkable. And more importantly, the teachers that poured into those respective students. And then finally, was two final launch, as was mentioned by Mrs. Giroux. The launch initiative, if you all recall, I had in Richmond Community Schools, along with Muncie Community Schools, Randolph County Schools, and Newcastle School Corporation. We've been selected by the Indiana Department of Education to take part in the launch initiative, which is a workforce development initiative centered around improving upon equities and accessibility to high quality CTE programming. And so we were there in Carnersville with the respective corporations and the students, as well as faculty and staff that had a great time of sharing the vision of improving upon that lot. I want to give kudos to Richmond Community Schools and their CTE program. Great representation of our community, of students that participate in that program. We're looking to expand and build upon it. And then finally, just this afternoon, I had an opportunity to be at Richmond High School working alongside upperclassmen and Fort Wayne County. And the conversation centered around workforce development, but much of what the young man from the Bass Championship had said, we were trying to find out from our current Richmond High School students what it would take for them to return and serve here in Richmond, and or never leave in the first place and take advantage of some of our higher academia institutions around the city, as well as what our city has to offer in general. And so the conversation was enriching. We heard from Nolan this evening as to the investment that they all as students have in their own education. And they're thirsty, they're hungry, they want the rigor. Our teachers are ready for that, and I know that the future is only going to continue to get better and having the experience and the engagement was just, again, it was fulfilling, very fulfilling. So, Mrs. Sonsini, if you don't mind sharing some of your happenings and highlights.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. The first thing I would start with is just a reminder that due to our closures with the industrial fire, we did have to apply for an instructional waiver, and that waiver was approved for 3 instructional days, and then we were added 1 asynchronous instructional day. So as a reminder, we are allowed to have 3 asynchronous days during the school year. We had already exceeded those, so the state added 1 additional asynchronous day, which we have already communicated out to staff and to families. The plan that those asynchronous assignments will be assigned no later than Friday, May 5th. So that plan will take care of that 1 day that we are required to make up asynchronously. Also, our seniors participated in the Wayne County Hiring Fair last week, and from what I hear, we had the largest number of students participating of all of the schools in Wayne County, so we are very proud of that. We are in the middle of iLearn state testing for grades 3 through 8, and so our students are hard at work showing us what they have learned. Mr. Billy Wright has been overseeing some of our attendance work within the district, and he scheduled 2 different meetings, one with our elementary principals and representatives from RPD, the probation department, and also our juvenile prosecutor, Kayla Short, was there. So we had 1 for elementary, and then we had 1 for secondary. At the secondary meeting, we had our SROs attend, and that was just yesterday. It was very informational, just about ways that we can partner to increase attendance and, quite honestly, interventions when students are not attending. So that is the first step in developing a more collaborative approach, knowing what the prosecutor would need in the event that we would have to take those necessary steps. So I do want to thank our building level leaders for that additional time and wanting to know what options they have in order to increase attendance. A celebration is Hibbard was awarded the STEM cadre by the Indiana Department of Education, which will allow them opportunities to send one of their leaders for additional STEM training. So the state has grants for the STEM cadre and also the science of reading. So we are very excited that Hibbard was selected into the STEM cadre. And then I would mention our school improvement grant funds, additional funds were awarded to Fairview and Dennis. Initially, the state had sent out a competitive grant in which required certain innovative approaches to be taken. We decided to not pursue those. Those monies were not used, so then they came back and awarded the schools non-competitive grants. And so Dennis and Fairview have a short timeline to turn that around, but a lot of it is focused on just continuing work with NIET and or other consultants of their choice. So looking at their school improvement plans and what specifically can help them. They will be taking some different teams to conferences over the summer to bring back and share what they have learned. And then lastly, I would say I'm very proud of Richmond High School and for TEST. They used Parent Square, which is our new online communication platform, to share report cards with families. That was not something we've been trying to take baby steps with that platform because it is very overwhelming. There are so many different things you can do within Parent Square, but for them to take the initiative and start to send out report cards in that way, we are very proud of them. It allows us also to see which parents have viewed report cards. So what we've done is if they don't have Parent Square, we've obviously sent home paper copies, but we're just excited about that transition.
Thank you, Mrs. Sonsini. Any questions for Mrs. Sonsini and myself?
What percentage of our populations has a Parent Square account?
I can look that up. Mrs. Hazelbaker may have that as well. We talk about reachable. So there are 2 components to that. One is the instant email. So basically everyone is rostered in order to receive the email notifications. There are 2 different types of alerts. One is an urgent alert, and that's when we send out, for example, a phone call to everyone, and regardless of what day or time it is, it will go out. It will push through, even if, for example, you have a certain preference in terms of digesting all of your, sorry, I couldn't think of that word, digesting all of your communication to come at a later date. And so so that is the first step. Everyone has that. So there's an email automatically going out. If we don't want it to be an email, we want it to interrupt, we call that an urgent alert. So we did have to learn through some of those measures. At first thought we were using one, it was actually the other one during the closure. We've actually worked through all of that. But what's nice in Parent Square is you can see a district snapshot of the reachable families and then the unreachable families. And thank you to Mrs. Claypool for working closely with our secretaries and Mr. Hazelbaker, because he shared a Loom video with all of the secretaries so that they can log in and see who their reachable families are and who their unreachable families are. And what we said is at your pace, please start making some sort of contact with those families. Like, we know we don't have an email for them, or we may not have a phone number, so please try to track down or send things home with those kids so that we can enter that into Power School, because then it syncs with Parent Square. I think we've given a little bit of time for Mr. Hazelbaker and Mrs. Hazelbaker to share that
And
data.
there's no relation.
Not related.
Okay. We know when the Hazelbakers came over in the big boat from Germany, Hasselbachs. Okay. Anyway, we have 63% of our parents are connected via email. So that's 3,748 parents. 10% are connected via the app, which is 609 parents. And then we have 99% of the families, which is 5,935, are parents with phones that are getting the text messages.
And one thing we did, because that's just with the email communication, but we also put out the QR code at preschool and kindergarten roundup in order for our new families coming in to be able to scan that and download the app so that they can receive that on the app. So that is the next step with parents. And again, thank you to Mrs. Claypool for coordinating and sending that out to all of our secretaries. They now have put that in their buildings so that when parents come in to pick up students, they can quickly scan that and then download that app. So that is the next step, is really the preference is getting that app on their phone, because then you can have that communication. One component of Parent Square is the direct messaging. So as a parent, if you want to reach out to a Richmond High School teacher, you can do that via text messaging directly and get a response back. That then goes to their email, or if they have the app, and then you can respond back and forth. So it really is convenient for two-way communication for working parents that may not be able to step away during the day or work a certain shift that's not convenient or when teachers aren't working.
We're actually getting the feedback off the app of reachable and not reachable.
You
Where
are?
we're not, no, as a school system, we're actually getting the feedback of who's reachable and not reachable
Yes.
on the app versus an email, a phone call. It's not really, you're not getting any feedback on it.
Email too. We're finding out who's not opening the email as well. If it's an email address, we're also finding out that information in per school. We know what the numbers are per school.
So what's our goals on getting app conversion by next school year? Because obviously,
100%.
okay.
And Mr. Zaleski, to your question, again, this really bodes well and is a correlation with the strategic planning goals, as well as even my visionary perspective as far as when it comes to customer service, customer care, and customer satisfaction in user-friendly fashion. We've heard communication being one of those necessities, whether it be from a faculty, staff, students, stakeholders. We're trying to find those effective and efficient ways to communicate and make sure that our families are able to comprehend the communication. So we have several forms of communication, several lines. With Parent Square, we've gotten feedback that it's very user-friendly, it's easily comprehended, and most importantly, it gets the job done of keeping our community informed. And so we're looking to improve.
And our first step, Mr. Zaleski, was to make sure that our district leaders were using the platform, and also our building level leaders. And so we have had training in each of the buildings, but we haven't required that of teachers. We've just tried to show how easy it can be done. The next step is training our secretaries next week. So we do have a plan of how to roll this out, because again, it can be very overwhelming. You can do field trip permission slips on this. You can send all your Title I notifications out via this, obviously report cards. You can do IEP and progress reports. So it is just polls can be done, surveys. So it is a very large platform, and so we don't want to overwhelm everyone, including us, as we're rolling it out. So we're just trying to take one step at a time to get there.
Is the hope also that coaches and athletics would be involved in this too? Because I know they use Remind quite a bit.
Yes, that
So
is
the
definitely the
conversion
goal is to
in
get
the
to one
future.
goal or
Okay.
one platform. So we're looking to transition over the summer with that. But even bus, transportation, so that in the event there was an accident and bus 53 needed to be notified, that roster would be synced and we could send that out immediately. So a lot of rolling parts and a lot of training being done. I think I would consider this the experimental stage of trying to work through things, make sure we're using it in appropriate ways.
Other questions? Mrs. Bolzer, tell us the highlights and happenings from the HR department.
Thank you. The first thing I want to make sure I address, and we sent you all invitations, I think last week, and before that even so, is the Celebration of Excellence is next Tuesday, May 2nd at Civic Hall, beginning sharply at 3:15. I want to credit my staff. That is a huge undertaking and an incredible amount of time has gone into the planning process. And as you'll hear probably continuously, losing 4 days of committee meetings and other meetings to help plan for and to do the daily duties of has been significant. To lose those 4 days, it takes sometimes weeks to make up for the loss of those. But I also want to commend the Teacher of the Year Committee and the other committees to help us be able to celebrate our dedicated employees. Also, I wanted to highlight our Meridian team. They have been working diligently with our building level leaders and making sure all of our students are compliant with the state regulations for the vaccinations. They have significantly improved. In fact, the information that was released today shows an incredible amount of improvement than where Richmond has been historically, just in the year of dedicated and intentional service to make sure that our kids are adequately vaccinated. And also, we too provided some services, and we have actually had multiple community clinics to be able to help assist with those needs. And there were our Meridian team, as well as the Wayne County Health Department, were at the kindergarten and pre-K roundup to also be able to vaccinate the students that needed to do so as they were there and going through the registration process. So that was successful. Also, I wanted to touch on HR has gone mobile. I said it's kind of Where's Waldo throughout the Richmond community schools. And I have had such a wonderful experience. And in fact, I have really looked forward to going into the buildings and talking to our staff members individually. It's been a very rewarding and enlightening experience for me. And I really appreciate the feedback that we've received. And I will say, someone that provided some input this morning, I immediately thought that is such an exceptional idea, and immediately put something into place while I was waiting for the next person to come in. So it's just it's been a wonderful experience to be able to reach so many. I've had paras, I've had our teaching staff, I've had environmental service, I've had really almost every individualized employee category. So it's just been a wonderful experience to take part in, and I'm looking forward to finishing the year out strong. And lastly, I just also truly wanted to commend all of our dedicated staff, the essential personnel that work diligently to be able to make sure our buildings we could return to instruction safely for all of our students and staff. And the amount of time that I know that Glenn's staff put into being able to return, and then also my HR team and Karen's business department team. I certainly want to commend them because they worked around the clock at trying to help make sure that things were being completed, as well as working in conjunction with the assistant superintendent's office, because there's a lot of additional work that goes into the waiver days and making sure the instructional needs of our students are met upon their return, as well as making sure our offices are still working on the completion of the integration of our new software, which has been a huge undertaking, but it will be so exceptional when it's 100% up and running. We're almost there, but you're chugging along to be able to integrate all of that data. And an exceptional amount of time went into this last payroll to make sure that all of our staff was paid in a timely manner. So kudos to them as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Bolzer. Any questions for Mrs. Bolzer? Trustees? All right. Mr. Glenn Slifer, please share the highlights and happenings from the facilities department, sir.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to take after we went through the flood and we went through the fire and we went through the different adversaries we've come up against. So obviously that everybody involved is well appreciated and thanked, and couldn't have done without them. Everybody worked together, turned out great. I've been turning our focuses on some of the summer projects that's getting away. Going to be getting underway with not only the construction outside help, but in-house of what we're trying to do and get going. I have a little summer project schedule going on from high school, mechanical modernizations going on, tower restoration in the roof, corridor flooring, first and second floor. We have some abatement going on, building trades roof, repairing the balances and the balances over there at the high school, security upgrades. And so that's just an example of some of the happenings at the high school. We haven't forgot about the elementaries or the middle schools as well. We're going in and we've got each individualized areas that we're trying to schedule and get in to make things better learning environment moving forward.
Any questions for Mr. Slifer? As we know, in the facilities department, there's always something to do or something to do with what comes with your work.
What is it you need from the board as far as approval of contracts and what, so all our projects are done during the summer? There seems to be a lot of projects that have filtered into the school year, whether it's the pool, whether I guess there's air chillers in the high school that are now being dealt with, and we haven't had any HVAC in the high school for a week or whatever.
Well, we're the high school under the mechanical modernization. This week we're doing a transition period from over the weather's conducive over to the older stuff, temporary chiller, to the new cooling tower. We're doing startups, and they are going great. It was many weeks of planning to get all the startup people from the condensers to the cooling tower to the VFDs, the pumps, and coordination alone was quite entailed. So yeah, in reference to that, so we certainly hope to have better conditions and cooling conditions over the high school. Temporary chillers has given us some fits. When we had those 80-degree weather here last week, it was challenging. It was max. We was trying to shed loads to make some rooms comfortable for them to go. So it's exciting for that changeover. And some of these projects stem from last year. He was asking about contracts. Some of these projects stem from last year that we wasn't able to get the equipment in, so they was already pre-approved, and we had to ship them off till this summer for some air handlers and equipment to come in. So now we're scheduling all the contractors back in and making adjustments to go through there. So
And all major contracts or projects are being planned during summer and not during school.
Yeah, we've got the major contracts done for this section. We still got some coming up that you guys will be seeing soon and talking about. So Things like painting, some carpet replacement, some generalized stuff is we do that on a purchase order, so to speak, and go through and be glad to supply a list if needed.
Any other questions for Mr. Schleifer? All right, thank you, Mr. Schleifer. And finally, Mrs. Scout, please share the highlights and happenings from the business department manager.
Yeah, so I'll try to make it short and sweet because we have taken a little time this evening in this area. And so I'm going to highlight, I kudos the same as Mrs. Bolser. Our staff's really, they're tired, I guess, is kind of the word, because it really did take quite a bit. When you don't have all of your normal people and processes there, a lot of things have to happen. Additionally, Mr. Mops knows that from having been kind of down in our area a bit as well. So it's just a little different, a little bit harder, but they did a great job. And so kudos to them. I appreciate each and every one of them and the time that they took, as well as our maintenance crew and custodial crews. They really stepped it up, and anything we needed, they were there. I do want to say a special thank you to Mr. Schleifer and Mr. Hiltner. We spent most of the day on Sunday making sure that we could get equipment in. I want to say a super huge thank you to Mr. McCurdy and to Sunbelt Rentals. They made some magic happen for me about 9 o'clock on Sunday night in West Virginia. And so I can't stress enough how much our vendors play an important and crucial role in us getting back to school on time in good environments for our kids. And so that is something that it's just a huge thank you to everybody that helped us get there, because it takes a team. So lately we've been super busy with just general normal spring stuff. It's state budget time, so I've spent a lot of the last couple of weeks just in conversations. What does this look like? What's this going to do? A little bit scared the last few days, I'll be honest with you. I hope that we see some things. I've been getting texts all through the meeting. Stuff's coming out tomorrow, and we'll see. But it really scared yesterday, I'll just put it that way. And so hopefully some of those changes are positive for us coming out of what just happened yesterday and today. We'll see. I'll keep you updated as I know more when it's official. So much changes at the end that you kind of have to wait till it's all done to get there. The other thing is just, it was super fun at the pre-K and kindergarten enrollment. We had a chance to go over kind of some of the bus rules with parents who will be using the bus, making sure, just a reminder, all of our kindergarten and first grade parents have to have an adult at the stop. When they get off, it's super important. We can't let the kids off without an adult. So it was nice to be able to have that conversation with parents, and we'll continue to remember that as we get closer to the start of the school year. It is something that we have found that we don't stress enough, and it does cause us some additional delays during the year, so we'll be working on that throughout the summer and the beginning of the school year. It was also nice that we at RCS provided the space for a community night last night with the EPA. They provided about 20 tables of support agencies that the community at large, those affected all throughout the region, could come and get their questions answered. It was a good night. It was a busy night, especially the first couple hours of the event. So we were happy to host that, and we're glad that we could help in any way that we could. So that happened last night. Something exciting that's coming tomorrow is Touch a Truck at Safety Village. So we will have a bus out there, and there will be all kinds of fun vehicles, police officer vehicles, fire department vehicles, ambulances, all those fun things that kids love. So that's there. If you have a little one, please go out and have fun at Safety Village. And then I have had a kind of tremendous number of parents reach out in need over the last couple of weeks, and just wanted to share with our community and our families kind of some places to go, I guess. So the Wayne Township Trustee's Office has been absolutely vital and essential to the families in our community. They are there for you. So if you need them, contact them. The Red Cross is also available. They are back at their home base downtown. So you are welcome to call their main number. And then if you do need help with food or groceries, Gleaners has been setting up some additional stops around the area, as well as all of the food banks. Anyone is able to contact my department or Mrs. Hazel Baker's department, and we are happy to share that information with them. So I have been getting a lot of requests for that information, so I just thought it would be good to share this out in this forum tonight. So, but that's kind of what we've been doing.
Thank you, Mrs. Scout. Any questions for Mrs. Scout from our trustees? Seeing none, Vice President Wall. Back to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for all the information and the updates. Moving forward here, we are now to the action items, or consent items, sorry. All right, consent items of approval minutes, human resources, accounts payable, monthly financial reports, and transfers.
And the human resources addendum as well.
Mr. Vice President, I move that we approve the consent items with the addition of the human resources addendum that we've been presented tonight as presented.
Second.
Motion by Aaron Stevens, second by Kristen Brunton. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Again, there are 2 members not in attendance tonight. All right, moving on to action items.
Vice President Walton, prior to moving on to the action items, if you don't mind, I'd like to acknowledge the fact that with you all approving the human resources report and addendum, we have just hired a new director of technology, and that gentleman is here, Mr. Casey Dodd. I'm going to ask join us at the podium just for a brief synopsis and snippet of who he is, where he comes from. Of course, you all remember we just brought Mr. Dodd in from the Vernon School community to serve as the current interim assistant principal at Test Intermediate, where he's been doing a fine job. But he also has a few other gifts, and like that of a Swiss Army knife of an educator. He is now going to be our director of technology. And so, Mr. Dodd, if you don't mind just sharing what you're most looking forward to in this new role.
First of all, I just want to extend my appreciation for you accepting me into this role. When I came to Richmond, it's been about 6 months ago. I really enjoyed my time getting into the buildings, getting into the community, and getting to know everybody. And it's truly been a blessing to be able to serve this community and then feel a lot of appreciation back as well. So blessed for that opportunity. One of the things that I was really passionate about when I was in the classroom as an English teacher was how you could use technology to enhance education, and not only just what you were doing with the kids, but then also what you could do with that as far as supporting families as well. And as I continued my teaching career and then eventually went into administration, I continued to find just a wealth of opportunity to be able to have technology serve such a large role in the educational process. So I'm really, really excited now to have this opportunity to not only kind of have things in my own little world where I was a building principal and was doing these things in my classroom, now getting to be able to look at it from more of a district-wide to where we can really use these amazing resources we already have, and then looking at the possibility of other resources that can better serve all of our kids, our teachers, our families, and our community as a whole. So just again, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Any questions for Mr. Dodd? Well, Mr. Dodd, we all wish you nothing but the best, and we know that as a central office leadership team, building up those teachers, we're going to support you along the way, and we're excited about what you bring to the table. So, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
President Walton, trustees, for action items 7.01 through 7.06, I ask that Mrs. Karen Scout, our Chief Financial Officer, rejoin the form for requesting approval of such action. Mrs. Scout.
All right, so are you good if I just keep rolling along with them so we can keep it moving, I guess?
Yes.
Okay, so tonight before you are a number of donations. It is scholarship season, so this is always a fun time for us to see all of the great things that our community and those alumni and all of the people that support us provide to our students directly. So before you tonight, there are donations totaling $24,427.56. You can see a lot of the donations that have come in. I am sure there will be a few others as we near the end of this graduation season, but we are so grateful for those, as well as some really great sponsorships with our BPA at the high school, our Civic Hall Performing Arts Center, our automotive club, and the Summer of E-Learning, receiving donations for the conference that's coming up in June, as well as our athletic programs. We truly could not do all that we do without these sponsorships, and so we are so grateful for them. So before you tonight are the donations, and I ask and recommend approval of the same.
So moved.
Second.
Look for it.
Aaron has it.
All right.
She's got it.
Motion by Mr. Zaleski, second by Aaron Stevens. All those in favor, or any questions or comments?
Thank you.
Yeah, the obligatory thank you. I mean, it's always overwhelming to see the generosity of our patrons in the community. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign for opposed. Vote passes 5-0.
Okay, moving on to agenda item 7.02, we have the renewal of our food service agreement with Chartwell's. And tonight I have Ms. Siobhan Carey here with us. She is our Chartwell's representative. I'll invite her to the platform. But this is year 3 of our 4-year renewal with Chartwell's, and it is for the 23-24 school year. All of the documents are before you on board docs. I will note that these have already been approved by the Department of Education. So once you finalize the approval, we'll send that off and everything will be finished for this renewal. So tonight, the documents and all of the renewal information is recommended for approval for the 2023-2024 school year with Chartwell's K-12.
Mr. Vice President, I move to approve action items 7.02, the renewal of the food service agreement with Chartwell's, as presented.
Motion by member Stevens,
Second.
second by member Zaleski. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those,
I will just ask if Ms. Carey would like to just say anything before you vote. That would maybe give you the opportunity just to.
Actually, Ms.
Let
Carey,
her
if you can
say
share maybe the vision and mission of Chartwell's and what it is that you are trying to do.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to come and speak with you today. I just wanted to say thank you for the partnership. We've really enjoyed our time here serving Richmond students. Right now, our biggest focus is nutrition education and adding as many programs that the Department of Education will allow us to add to get meals and nutrition education in front of kiddos. One of the biggest highlights I think this year was our Fuel Up to Play 60. That was a huge grant that we received, that Richmond schools received. And we're really looking forward to, putting that towards the nutrition education program. We also have a dietitian. We just added that to our food service team. And so that's really great because she's able to support the nurses and any kind of kids that have special like allergies or, dietary, special dietary needs, as well as just doing the fun stuff with the kids, going into the classroom and, just helping support that initiative. So thank you so much.
Mrs. Carey, can you also just allude just briefly about the data that you all collect that proves that with regard to your vision and mission as a corporation, as a company, the idea that students who are well fed also perform well?
Yes, thank you. Yes. So we obviously, we have the resources to collect data and to kind of analyze that. And so what we see is that when kids are eating, and we are also, we believe in the whole child, but when kids are eating and they have resources in front of them and they have access to free meals, their education and, you know, their basic needs are met just right here at school, and that allows them to focus on their schoolwork. So by these initiatives, breakfast in the classroom and different things of that nature, it has really allowed kids to just strive and just focus, and they don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming, because no matter whatever's going on at home, they know here at school that they're gonna be well fed, taken care of, and they have breakfast, lunch, and even supper, you know, if we can ever kind of get that going, but yeah.
It's our goal for next year.
Yeah,
Is to get that rolling. The COVID waivers changed some things on that, and so it's been a little challenging to get back into that, but that's our goal for next year, and we've already been working on a plan to get that going.
Yep. So again, thank you so much for the partnership. It's been a pleasure, and you've all been so supportive, and that's the biggest thing for us. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we already have a motion and a second on the table. Any comments after that? Question? All right. All those in favor of 7.02, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, next on the agenda is the professional services contract or proposal with EES, which is Equitable Education Solutions. This professional service group will provide the services that you can see on the proposal. They'll provide some videos for us to utilize throughout the district, as well as a dashboard of analytics with our academic performances and any analytic we would like on that dashboard. So before you tonight is the proposal with EES. I will note this is going to be funded through Title I. It is applicable to the Title I grant, and so that is where this funding will come from. It's my recommendation tonight that you approve the professional services with EES, Equitable Education Solutions.
We have a recommendation for 7.03 to be adopted.
Well, no one's jumping up on it, so I move to approve action item 7.03, the Equitable Education Solutions EES Professional Services Agreement as presented.
Motion by Member Stevens.
Second.
Second by Member Brunton. Any questions or comments?
What are the analytics that we can't get else? I mean, what's the real bottom line on what we're getting from them?
In short, one of the things with regard to EES and the analytics that they provide, we currently have the IDOE dashboard, and it's now been unveiled and has been of great service. However, I know that they coordinated and collaborated and worked closely with EES and the State Department in putting together the dashboard. What EES allows us to do with the data is to delve even deeper and find out that much more than what currently the State Department is offering. And with EES and other corporations, other districts around the state, their services has provided for growth when it comes to student achievement with such more analytical study when it comes to instruction, the effects of classroom instruction, quality instruction, as well as identifying areas of improvement that right now our sources and options do not. And so with EES and also they have a marketing arm also that will allow us to communicate. That's one of the things that we've been charged with, is continue to improve upon our communication of what's going on in the classroom, especially with the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s in the instruction. And with this analytical service, they're going to be able to, with a fine-tooth comb, if you will, really zero in, laser focus compared to.
So are these going to be tools that will be used at central office, or is it going to be principal level, or both, so that the principals will be able to look in individual classrooms and
down and dirty and nitty-gritty, forgive me for such southern terms, but of those school corporations and districts that have utilized EES, they've seen because of the ability to truly identify the root issues. So I know that.
Definitely a focus for our central office leaders, but also our principals and then our stakeholders and including the board. So if you can imagine, there are different platforms that we log in to see NWA data, iReady data. So think of this as one centralized platform where all of that data is being uploaded by this group, and then we're looking at it on a regular basis. So when you want to have a snapshot, you'd be able to log in at any time and see where that data is, versus right now, quite honestly, a lot of spreadsheets. Mr. Sam Thomas, who is one of our district instructional coaches, spends many hours creating spreadsheets and trying to pull all of that data in to share that out. And so this is just a different way to look at that. In addition to, as you can see, the ES analytics, there's also enhancement stakeholder communications with marketing to get in front of, especially test and dentists, to make sure that we can market what is happening in those buildings, especially with TBRI and other things coming. And lastly, I would just mention this partnership also allows EES analytics to work alongside us to write competitive grants through the DOE. And so that is one lift. I mean, we are always looking for opportunities to write grants, but EES, when you partner with them, then we'll reach out and say, hey, we saw this grant come up, we want to help write it, you provide the data to us, and we'll actually be the grant writer. So there's some additional benefits of partnering with EES Analytics as well.
I'm not familiar with them. How long have they been in existence? What's their track record? And how did we come to get this information from them?
They've been around for several years. They've been around for several years, and actually the corporation and the company is made up of former superintendents and or former building level leaders and central office leaders. You all are, I assume, familiar with former state superintendent Jennifer McCormick. She is a part of this corporation along with Dr. Langton, who former superintendent, who is Concrete's official and put the company together. But this analytics resource will allow our corporation to not only compile in a user-friendly, efficient, and effective format, but will allow us to center on data and arrive at data decision making that we haven't had in the past practice. So it's almost like that, as mentioned, warehouse. Very efficient and effective analysis.
I think this is a company I saw last year or year before at the state conference.
Yes,
that had
that's
their
right.
booth. And if I'm recalling it right, I mean, I was kind of wowed at the dashboard. It was the plethora of information that's just at your fingertips. Where, normally we have to spend quite a long time looking for and diving deep into is all right there.
And for classroom teachers, that is going to be invaluable when I can now sit and see that, okay, this student as a fourth grader that's now sitting in my seventh grade classroom struggled with this particular mastery or this particular proficiency. I know now how to differentiate my instruction to meet that student's needs on the basis of my deep dive into their unique data. But to answer your question, Aaron, Mr. Stevens, as Mr. Walton mentioned, we both attended that same conference, and they have presented and showcased their talents to our central office leadership team and governors.
So it's going to be granular enough that a teacher can pull individual students. And do we have that a teacher
Yes.
can pull individual students and track record? Do we have the processes for the data input from the teacher side over the years, or is it just testing data? Because the dashboard's only as good as the data that you put into it. And those processes are already in place?
Well, and therein lies a great question. As of now, I would not say that our data tracking is as good as it could be. And I think, again, with this service, to your question, it communicates with all of our current software. I know Power School is one that has had some challenges, but this is something that communicates and is collaborative in nature. And so, yes, our educators, I believe, will truly appreciate the ease at which to upload as well as even retrieve data. So I do want
I would just say there is some classroom level data that may not need to be uploaded into the dashboard. For example, an FPC reading level, they're probably just tracking those on a spreadsheet of their own. This is more geared at any of the formative assessments through iReady, NWEA, state assessments, kind of building that trend data. If you've attended any of the community conversations, we've shared a historical snapshot. It automatically builds in where state averages are. So again, we're creating all of these things on spreadsheets. This is just one platform. So what we are doing now is collecting all of the data, CSVs, into a file to then be able to share and upload it all. I would say the greatest benefit of this is really at the district level to be able to see that snapshot and then move its way down through our directors and our building leaders, but also equally as important to give you all as board members access to our data at any time. So when an NWA window closes, you have immediate access. As soon as that uploads in, you will be able to see it as well. So it's going to be a living and growing platform as we continue to upload different data pieces. Since we haven't really dug into it yet, we don't know what then we'll be able to share from it onto like website or with families. So that's going to be kind of the next step, is how do we take that to a friendly version to share those updates with families.
Historically, how far back will the data go that you're putting in?
You know, I mean, I know the data from our community conversations is dating back 7
years.
7 years. That's what we've been sharing.
Much of that is some of the standardized testing and some of the meat and potatoes. This allows us to.
I mean, I think ideally, if we could get the data from prior to COVID as like the baseline, then we have the COVID years, and then we start with this year. That I think ideally would be the goal.
Any other questions or comments? Motion and a second are on the table, so all those in favor of approving, state by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, moving on. So before you tonight, under item 7.04 is a contract for services with MLG. I will note that this is not a maintenance services agreement. It is for additional custodial services. So this does not take place of current staff, but it does assist us with substitute areas that we need coverage in. It also will provide some flexibility in being able to assist us with additional cleaning as needed. And this is in an effort to get some help to our current staff, as well as get our buildings brought back up to the levels that we would prefer them to be. This is an as-needed contract, so this at this time, this particular contract is just through June 30, with specific concentration at a couple of elementaries where we are currently short-staffed, and we are in the process of posting those positions and getting those filled, and while that happens, they will be filling in for us. I just want to stress this does not take the place of our current employees. It is not in any way an outsourced agency to replace them in any fashion. It is strictly for additional services as we need subs, or as we might need just some additional cleaning. So before you tonight is the agreement with MLJ Maintenance Services, and they are providing through June 1st 24 hours per day with 2 staff members. They do work different shifts as far as the number of hours per shift than our staff, and those can be used at one or multiple buildings, however we designate that time. So this is before you and is recommended for approval.
I move we approve action item 7.04.
Motion by Ms. Brunton,
Also.
Second by Mr. Mops. Comments or questions?
Are we just using dollars that we have left over?
Yes, out of the operations fund that we would normally spend on custodials. Yes, while we're,
So if we put a cap on what we're anticipating spending,
we can do that.
I'm just asking, because what's the number that we're under budget with our current staff that's not been filled?
Yeah, and that's something I did not bring with me tonight. It is something that I can look at least from, it's hard because the budget runs January to December. And so right now, we are only about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, without the custodial person at this particular building. So if we look just at this building, it won't be as much, but we are down positions. So I will take a look at that and get that back to you. I do not have that for tonight, but it is well within the range of what we currently do not have staffed. So
Because we're looking at what, $34 an hour, that's a total dollars, so that would be a staff member that's making 14 or 15 bucks an hour, I don't know.
yeah, I mean, it's
Plus-
very relative to that.
Plus FICA and all the others, so you're looking at 20 bucks, so we're paying about a 50% plus premium for using the service, essentially.
Yeah, and we have been using, I mean, I'll just note, we have been using a service to a degree. It's kind of just been there's not really been a contract. It's just been we've called you when we need you. It has not provided the services that we're super thrilled with. We have been paying them at $35 an hour, so it is pretty market relative. But yes, and that's why right now it's just through June 1st, because we want to make sure that we can monitor that at all times and try to get those positions filled as much as possible.
This is just through June.
Right now, it's just through June 1st. Yeah.
And the $34 an hour, that is being paid as a part of the contract to MLJ. It's not to the individual necessarily.
No, correct.
And I wanted to clarify that this is not displacing any of our current staff, any of the current workers, or maybe undermining their current salaries or status or anything.
Not in any way.
Okay.
It's actually, I think, in a way to try to help support them because they're understaffed and due to some of the turnover that we have received, we are trying to assist them in a manner that the buildings can get to a level of expectation, and then it could be routinely maintained as well. So we're truly wanting to try to support our staff so that they can work in a routine manner to maintain the cleanliness.
I asked the question so that there was clarification.
Absolutely.
Anybody out there who is thinking we're paying $34 an hour,
Very much appreciated.
temporarily to somebody who's going to come in, do a job, yet we're only paying our current staff X amount of dollars. So again, just to clarify, the $34 an hour is going to MLJ and they disperse it to their employees from there, not to displace any of our current workers.
Does this eliminate any overtime? I mean, are we to maintain our buildings at a workable level? Are we paying overtime right now?
We are, especially when we can't find subs.
So this
we are
is
asking our first
cheaper
shift to
than
stay.
overtime, is it not? Per hour?
Yes.
Yeah, close.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other questions or comments? There's a motion and a second on the table. All those in favor of passing 7.04, state by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
All right. The next item is professional services agreement with LWC for the STEAM renovation at Hibbard. So tonight before you is a contract with LWC as architects for the Hibbard STEAM program. I will note that I believe Mr. McCurdy is in the audience if you have any questions, but we have tasked them with the possibilities that we can have at Hibbard on the STEAM Imagination Lab primarily. And based on the facility working group meeting that we had, the original plans will be 3 options for the board to look at and decide what they are most comfortable with. The facilities working group determined that we would start at a level and just see what we can do for 500,000, and see what we can do for 1.5 million, and see what we can do for 2 million. So that is what this contract will look at, and we will be reviewing in the future once those plans have been drawn up, and we can take a peek at that. So that is the recommendation of the administration tonight, that we approve the contract on the Hibbard STEAM Imagination Lab contract with LWC.
Move for approval.
I'll say.
Motion by member Zaleski, second by member Moms.
Do we need to wait for Mr. Stevens? Oh, yeah.
Yes, are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0.
Okay, and the last item that I have are the change orders for this month. Before you tonight are 4 change orders, all with Carroll Electric and all for the RHS Mechanical Modernization Project. I will just remind the board that in lieu of a contingency, we determined that change orders would come to the board each time they were needed. So that is why you see so many on this project. And we are still within the range of we are not to that next lowest bidder area yet, so we are still within that range. But before you tonight are 4 change orders. We have change order 13, 14 R2, 15 R, and 16. And I will correct, the memo should say 4 instead of 5, please. Sorry about that.
I move we approve action item 7.06 with the change orders.
Motion by Ms. Broughton,
Second.
second by member Stevens. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next is 7.07, the 2023 athletic camp brochure.
President Ward and trustees, I ask that Assistant Superintendent, Mrs. Sansini, be joined in form for recommendation, questions, Mrs. Sansini.
Yes, thank you. We would like for you to consider the approval of the 2023 Summer Athletic Camp brochure, and you should have that in board docs.
I move to approve action item 7.07, the 2023 athletic camp brochure as presented.
Motion by member Stevens,
Second.
second by Mr. Zaleski. Any comments or questions?
Just looks like there's some great opportunities for students in the summer.
Improvement from last year. So, all right, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0.
Vice President Walton, trustees, I ask that Mrs. Jamie Bowles, our Director of Human Resources, join us for action item 7.08, 7.09, as well as 7.10. As presented, Mrs. Bowles.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. First in front of you is the renewal of our administrative contracts in an effort to foster a supportive environment with shared leadership and common values and beliefs to improve our overall student learning environment. We are presenting to you this evening our recommendation for administrative contract renewals.
Do I hear a motion for 7.08?
I make the motion, we approve action item 7.08.
Motion by Ms. Brunton,
Second.
second by Mr. Zaleski. Any comments or questions?
So I'm the newbie on the board. What what's the normal process with administrative contracts? Has it been year to year? Has it been multiple years? Just trying to get a.
And I think one of the reasons of going to a 2-year contract is to promote retention and stability and boost morale and let people know that, you know, they're going to be here.
Which is one of the major thematic conversations and topics of discussion lining up with teachers throughout our corporation. There were teachers that shared that over the course of their tenure of service here in the RCS, some had had as many as 11 school principals. Others have had a multitude of various leadership tenures. And so with this, they do want to stop compromise budget such processes. And Mrs. Bolzer, I know you can also attest to that very fact.
I think it's really important to provide that professional learning organizational structure, and I think that the stability and continuity in leadership helps promote not only the stability, but it allows our building level leaders to work towards a long-term goal, and it really helps build and foster those relationships at the building level, which are crucial.
And one of the things that is widely known in school administration is that a building will take on the persona of its leader.
Yes.
And when speaking with teachers throughout the corporation, one of the things that many of them reference to all of them in all buildings is the appreciation for the building of leadership. And in most buildings, they do not want to see that change. So I think this, as Mrs. Bowes alluded to, it puts that stability in motion so that we can continue to accomplish the goals before us.
There's some in this building that have been left off that list. I assume those will be revisited.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Any other comments or questions? All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Mrs. Bolzer, 7.09, yes ma'am.
In an effort to meet the increased needs within the technology department and to promote efficiency, communication, decision-making, and overall employee satisfaction across the RCS school environment, we are recommending providing an organizational structure, much like other departments throughout Richmond Community Schools. The overall net financial position of this recommendation yields a net savings to the corporation between the education, ESSER, and operations fund.
I move we approve action item 7.09.
Motion by Ms. Brunton,
Second.
second by Member Stevens. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Walton, if it's okay, I would like to take this opportunity to bring up Mr. Hazelbaker. I did not warn him that I was going to do this. However, I feel it is very appropriate to do so. He has been absolutely crucial. It's not rare, but it's not common that when I pick up a phone, I'm definitely calling to let you know that this person is phenomenal. And that has occurred, that has been a common theme when referring to Mr. Hazelbaker. And I wanted to make sure that he is recognized for his additional efforts, not only through the flood, the fire, but just in the day-to-day way he presents not only himself, his department, but also Richmond Community Schools.
Thank you very much for approving this. We're excited as a team to take this restructure and be able to take the opportunity to build upon the successes of prior leadership that we've had in our roles, and then to also highlight some of the individuals in the department to give us the opportunity to continue to build the successes within our classrooms and give the educators the tools they need to be able to make our students successful. So with that, in this time, I'd also like to highlight one of our most recent hires that we've had in the department, Stacy Corwin, who we have back in December, we hired her, and she has been a phenomenal technician throughout the district, much like the rest of our other team members here within the district technology department. But she has stuck out, and her name is raving through the district. If you've not heard of Stacy Corwin, then you need to wake up and listen to that name and know who she is, because she is making waves in our district and she is making changes. So we're excited to take her from the technician role and make her our new systems administrator for our district.
We found a way to try to spread her positivity, her willingness to roll up her sleeves and say, what else can I do? What needs to be done? How can I improve? And try to duplicate that and expand. I actually know one day Mrs. Claypool just stopped by the office and said, Stacy Corwin. And
She's awesome.
her positivity is absolutely contagious.
Mr. Hazelbaker, what's your background?
My background, I graduated from Richmond in 2010, and I will be honest with you, if I met my former self and said, hey, one day you're going to work for the same school district that you are ready to just get up out of town and move somewhere else, I would not believe myself, but I am appreciative of the opportunities I've had since coming back to Richmond and working for RCS. Just to kind of give you a background, I worked with the Kroger Corporation as a store manager with them for 5 years, and then had the opportunity to come and work the passion I've always had for technology. Never knew that I could take and marry the two of management and technology together, so it's a fantastic opportunity, and I thank you.
You have a very professional bearing about yourself.
Yes, he
You're
does.
very articulate, and you exude with enthusiasm just in what you've said. And I don't know about anybody else, I'm just impressed with your presence right now. And then with what Ms. Bolzer has had to say, and even what Ms. Claypool has had to add to that, I think we're very fortunate to have you in the position.
You got that at Test Intermediate School.
Great leadership there.
Do you want to thank a leader from the past?
Absolutely. All jokes aside, Mr. Hazelbaker, as I've shared with you time and again, with you, you lead with humility. And I've said it and I'll continue to say it, humility, self-service, resiliency. You embody all three to hold down the fort, metaphorically speaking, during some very difficult times. As a school superintendent, and with the technology being an overarching department for all things school related, you allow me to sleep easy at night, because we understand how in 30 seconds things can change and shut all of this down and potentially our lives literally. And with your leadership, the department has maintained and sustained a high level of quality service. The humility that you're exercising, and now coming under the leadership of Mr. Dodd, again, just kudos to you and brilliant, sir. We thank you.
Reinforce that by bringing up other folks in his department while he's up here to talk about it.
Yeah.
Oh, without a doubt.
Thank you.
That's Mr. Hazel. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Next up is 7.10.
Thank you. We are presenting a resolution that outlines the timeline, circumstances of the fire, the actions taken as a result, as well as the agencies and entities we received guidance from. In addition, the resolution addresses the process to request waiver days and the payment of our dedicated staff during the closures. And I also would like to extend thank you to Mr. Cross and his excellence in preparing the document.
Well, actually, the name of the company is My Way Trading, not Midway. I must have been watching a World War II movie.
That's funny, Ron. I watched that movie yesterday.
I went with it.
So the question, it seems that there's been more than anything else has been in section 2, the provisions for payment of RCS employees. So can you just highlight that part so it's clear and
Absolutely.
not in HR speak?
And I would echo that, because being out in the buildings, and that's what's wonderful about our teaching staff. Some of the teachers that have met with me, their first thing that when they sit down, is there a way to make sure our paraprofessionals and our support staff can be paid through the closures? And I said, we are working hard on it. We needed to just simply see what the state's decision would be on the waiver days. And then thankfully, through that hard work, we were able to get a plan put into place with the 3 waiver days and then the plan for the asynchronous day. But basically, this just ensures that our staff will be paid their routine, regular rate of pay during the closure.
regardless of classification.
That is correct, regardless of classification. And that should be paid, Karen, correct me if I'm wrong, on May 5th.
Yep. The one thing I just want to note for staff is that they may see something different on their checks that's called a release day. Some of our employees already have this on their stubs, so it's not anything new, but some of the hourly staff don't usually see that, and it's an attendance coding that allows us to show that you've paid that day. So even though they may not have physically reported, they're getting paid for that day. And that's just something for record keeping purposes, and should we ever have an IRS audit, we just want to make sure that we're clean and clear on that. And so knowing that when people look at their stubs, if there's anything weird or different, just so that they know that, that will be in an email communicated out to staff this evening if this resolution is approved. But that is the one different thing about it for some employees that they may see that they're like, what's that? Just means that we're keeping track of that so that we can make sure that the pay is documented.
Mr. Vice President, I move to approve 7.10, the resolution, with the stipulation that this resolution be corrected to refer to as My Way Trading Fire and RCS Applications.
Second.
Motion by member Stevens, second by member Zaleski. Any comments or questions?
Just a couple of housekeeping. I didn't call Kim to get a number, but I don't, is this the first one?
This is our first one.
So it'll be 2023-01. And then, while not a part of it, if I can indulge you just a minute, I had requested, as I had originally drafted the resolution, it had a schedule that would attempt to list all the agencies that had been part of the response to the fire. And I think with the wisdom of Ms. Bulzer and Dr. Wright, they just decided we didn't really need to do that because we know we were going to leave somebody out. But I do have a list I got from John Duke at EMA. It lists 37 agencies, both local, state of Indiana agencies, Ohio agencies, and federal agencies that responded. And in addition, 4 local entities, 2 churches that provided shelter and assistance. So I would like, if I could, leave this and have it be made a part of the minutes of the meeting so that we have some record of the agencies that did in fact respond, because the response was truly overwhelming. A lot of the first responders were providing backup because you heard the chief earlier tonight say how concentrated their staff was at the fire, so that required somebody to be available for the usual calls. And so it was just an unbelievable coming together of agencies. Hopefully they don't have to do that again, but if they ever did, it shows their training was more than adequate.
Mr. Cross, I think I read in one of the updates that was sent out via text that the community, we're dropping things off, and they said, we've got enough water, we've got enough,
Yes.
and so just
Everyone.
community members. So it was an outpouring. That's good.
I will note that our Crestdale PTO was supposed to have a family night that night, and they ended up taking pizza to the fire department instead, and that was a huge help to them. I think they were one of the first to stop in, and that was a really great thing to see, that our PTOs even joined in and all of that, and it was a really nice coming together of everybody.
And we know that this is going to, the updates from yesterday and from the town hall gathering at Fairview last night, that the investigation itself is going to take some time to continue before, and we're going to still have the EPA here, and so there won't be a resolution pardon the pun, for 7.10. There will not be a conclusion to this investigation or the happenings of April 11th for some time, and the public's patience is really asked. We're leaning on that, but sitting in my house for those few days and watching this, I remember Chief Brown making the comment that he had never seen a fire of this magnitude. The last one that I can think of, the Swain Robinson fire back in the 80s, was not to this extent. The only other one that I can think of,
pretty much wood and timbers.
Yeah, the only other one that I can think of is April 6, 1968, the downtown explosion. Unfortunately for us, this one has not cost anyone a life, that as opposed to the 41 people that lost their lives on that day in 1968. And again, this, you know, we're blessed, we're very fortunate that the result is as it is right now, and the continued efforts, you know, from RCS and first responders and everything. It's incredible. It's really incredible. You know, it was a dark time, but we'll see how we rise metaphorically from the ashes.
Any other comments or questions?
I move, oh, do we need to?
No, we have a motion by
Okay.
Mr. Stevens and a second by Mr. Zaleski. So all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next, we have number 8, upcoming meetings.
President Wharton, Vice President Wharton, trustees, our next scheduled board meeting is Wednesday, May 24th. On that day, just as we have done this evening, we will exercise civics and also share all the wonderful things occurring in Richmond Community Schools, as well as highlight opportunity and challenges.
Mr. Walton, if I may, just to try to keep a couple of things on top of mind, of items that have been, we need some discussion about, not tonight, but in future meetings, as we're discussing. The bell schedule, the valedictorian discussion is still, I think, unresolved. The preschool wait list probably needs to be resolved fairly quickly. And when the paras were given a $1 raise last fall, for like, I don't remember the month, that was stated to be the first step of a multi-part plan, and we've just not heard that plan. So just some items to keep on the
education committee talked about the valedictorian, so that's going to be a discussion.
Thank you.
Vice President Walton, trustees, prior to Mrs. Hazel Baker joining us for the bell ringer prior to the adjournment, I would just simply like to piggyback on what all has been said, and I'll keep it brief, but I've also been notorious for saying that we are Richmond, we also are resilient, and at the academic excellence event earlier this week, Mr. Hensley, our director of CTE there at RHS, had shared a brief historical synopsis with our current senior class and all of the adversity that they have had to deal with, dating back to COVID, to the now 90,000 gallons plus of water, to now the industrial fire and everything in between. And it's just been, again, remarkable. And you think about the youngsters that were before us tonight that had perfect. I read 3 scores as second graders. They've never truly known normalcy when it comes to the traditional school experience that we all grew up with. And so again, that resiliency is remarkable. Finally, to the resolution, and I know that you all have been privy. We've shared with our community, but I'll just reiterate that Richmond Community Schools went above and beyond even of the guidance, and we appreciate it. And again, as Attorney Cross referenced, the Emergency Management Association, the IDEM, the EPA, as well as many others, guided us along the way. However, of the final guidance, we took it a step further to ensure that our learning environments in our schools were, without a shadow of doubt, safe and secure. And I'm not going to go into detail. You all are well aware of the multiple steps that we took, but I will share publicly that of the air quality tests that were conducted through our corporation, at this juncture, all buildings are clear with regard to the IDEM and OSHA thresholds. That is major, which was not one of the guided steps that we had to take, but it was one that we felt was necessary, along with air scrubbing that occurred in all of our schoolhouses, thorough cleaning, and again, just kudos to everyone who took part. With that being said, Mrs. Hazelbaker, please share some of the
Just some upcoming events that are happening. Tomorrow night, Westview has rescheduled their literacy night. That is tomorrow. The prom, so you're going out to dinner on Saturday, be careful. a lot of kids out on prom for Saturday night, Richmond's prom. May 1st, Monday, community conversations with Dr. Wright. We'll be right over here at McGuire Hall. And then also on May 9th, will be the 100th birthday for Test. So make sure you come out there. We have food trucks, and the kids are t-shirts and the whole bit. So, and there's also, after the birthday party, there's also a middle school choir concert. So a lot of things going on.
And that's actually a student organized at Test, isn't it?
It is. We have a committee, yes.
Yeah,
So
it's cool.
the students actually requested funding from NAPCO for their t-shirts, and they're the ones planning all of the events. So they're very excited. So we're closing, we have received the Board of Works has allowed us to close that street, South Main Street, between the schools. So that's where some of the food trucks will be, and inflatables and all that stuff. So as far as just another thing that's really exciting is that we had a Richmond High School senior win the car yesterday for that perfect attendance. So Austin Rowe, what?
I think it's Rowe.
Rowe, thank you. So we had 18 seniors that had perfect attendance this year, so very excited for him to receive that last night for the Chambers School of School event.
Did he take the car or the money?
I don't know yet. So I did see him over there, over at the high school this afternoon, but didn't get to have a chance to ask him. And then I also, Mrs. Stoltz had sent this to me, but you guys received an award. So the Exemplary Governance Award was given to the Richmond Community Schools Board of School Trustees, recognized for Commemoral Level 1 Board Award, because the majority of our school board members have accumulated at least 75 EGA points through attendance at ISBA sponsored or ISBA recognized trainings and seminars. So congratulations. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mrs. Hazelbaker. And with that, Vice
Well,
President.
before I throw the gavel down, I just wanted to kind of give a shout out to not just our staff and teachers that have been here through it, our senior class this year. You look at what they've gone through. I mean, from the school shooting to do we have school, do we not have school with COVID, to see you in a couple months, and then coming back and going through high school and having a flood. By the way, you're not coming back after Christmas for another month, and then now being displaced by a fire, and they just keep trucking, man. They just let it roll off their backs and just keep moving. If that's not just to be
Resiliency?
applauded and resilient,
It's
and,
Richmond.
I mean, it's just, you think about it and you just sit back and you're just like, holy cow. I mean, to understand that our younger men and women are going through this and how it's molding them, and it's just, you know, they, for the most part, have dealt with everything just so unbelievably remarkably. That's just, and I know we have areas we can get better in on things, but I'll tell you what, it's just they deserve a shout out and some recognition because they've just been through a lot. And I think through the day-to-day operations of stuff, and you know, we get into the routine of board meetings, the routine of, you know, doing what we do on a daily basis. We forget the overall goal of what we do here, and it's to provide students with the opportunity. And I've always said that if we were to concentrate on making kids a productive member of society, that the test scores and graduation rate would always take care of itself. And I'll tell you what, if they're not learning life lessons of resiliency and just tough shoulders and tough skin, I don't know what else to say there. I just want to say congratulations. I mean, and just, you need to be applauded and deserve some recognition for going through everything you've done or gone through, and still just keep plugging away.
As well as the faculty and staff.
Yes.
As one of the students said this morning, which was very impactful to Mr. Walsh's point. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And they just, that can-do spirit that they embody. It's remarkable.
All right, I'm done with my little soapbox speech, so we are adjourned.
is a